I'm Ria and welcome back to Dimensions France. If you're new here, Dimensions France helps international students to integrate in France. They're the biggest community for international students, so whether it's figuring out your visa or your house situation, Dimensions France is for you. Today's video is one of the most requested topics. It's understanding how the French visa system works. So if you don't know what OFII means or VLS, Carte de Séjour, Titre de Séjour, I'll be explaining this. So if you've just arrived in France or if you're planning to move there soon, this video will walk you through these key steps. What is VLS and why is it important? How to validate this online? What is OFII and why is it important too? How to apply for your Carte de Séjour once your OFII is done. So firstly, VLS is just visa long stay, which means the Titre de Séjour. If you're planning to stay in France for more than 90 days, then this is the visa that you need. Now, even though this visa is valid for a year, your long stay visa, so your Titre de Séjour, does not automatically become active. To make it valid, you need to actually validate it and register it online within 3 months. And here's how you validate this visa. So firstly, you go on this platform, you choose this option that says validate your long stay visa. Then you fill out your visa reference number, which is on the visa sticker in your passport. You also put your passport details, your date of entry, French address. Then you need to pay a tax, which can cost up to 50 to 200 euros, really depending on the type of visa that you have. So if you're a student, it usually costs around 70 euros. They're called timbre fiscal, and you can buy them from a tobacco shop, or you can buy them online as well. That's what I did. And once that is done, you'll receive a PDF confirmation. Now, secondly, what is OFII? Office Français de l'Immigration et de l'Intégration. And before 2019, the students had to actually visit the OFII office in person to validate it, but this new process after 2019 is different and it's much easier. So when people say register with OFII, they're basically saying validate your long stay visa. Usually if you're a student, if you have a master's of 1 or 2 years, or even if you're an exchange student with Erasmus, an in-person OFII appointment won't be required now, which is good news. Now, what happens after 1 year? After 1 year, you're eligible to get your Carte de Séjour. Your visa long stay is only valid for 1 year, but if you're actually studying in France or if you're working or interning, then you need to change your visa. So this is when you need your Carte de Séjour, which is your long-term residence permit. You must apply for your Carte de Séjour before your long-term visa expires. I think the window to apply for it is 3 months in advance, and this process is managed by your local prefecture, so it can depend on where you live. Each neighborhood has its own prefecture. So if you live in Paris, you would mostly be going to this prefecture here, which is the Cité prefecture. If you live in the suburbs, Antony has a different prefecture, Boulogne has a different prefecture, Nanterre has a different prefecture. So you should also check which prefecture you're supposed to go to, depending on where you live. To apply for this, you will also be starting this procedure online itself. And once your dossier is completed, you'll be asked to upload the scanned documents, schedule an appointment to the prefecture. But this is usually after your Carte de Séjour is ready. So you would get an SMS saying that your Carte de Séjour is ready for pickup, and that's when you can get an appointment. But in the meantime, you'll also receive a récépissé, which is a receipt of application, essentially acts as a temporary residence permit until your actual Carte de Séjour is ready. Because prefectures can be very slow, it can take several weeks to even several months for them to prepare your Carte de Séjour. So in the meanwhile, even if your long-term visa has expired, you have your récépissé, which means that you're still valid to live in the country. Now, to apply for the Carte de Séjour, you'll essentially need these documents. Firstly, you'll need your valid passport, a copy of your long-term visa, a proof of housing, so this can be your rental contract, your electricity bill. You'll also need a certificate of enrollment. If you're a student, you'll need proof of finances, usually around 800 per month. You'll need a health insurance certificate, a passport size photo, a tax stamp, which is the timbre fiscal that I mentioned before. Also, you don't have to worry about the housing documents, because Dimensions France can help you out. And keep in mind that each prefecture could have different variations of the documents that they need, but more or less these are the documents that you need. So as soon as you have applied for your Carte de Séjour, you can start gathering these documents. A rule of thumb is to have 3 months of each document. So for my case, I had 3 months of my electricity bill, 3 months of the rent receipt, and so on. Okay, now it's time for some FAQs that I've seen a lot of students ask before. The first question is, can I leave France during the visa long stay period? So yes, your visa long stay period acts as your residence permit, so you can visit the Schengen countries without a visa. I missed my visa validation deadline, so what should I do? So you should validate it immediately. You may be asked for justification, but you should do it sooner or later. Can I travel if I've applied for my Carte de Séjour but I haven't received it yet? So with your récépissé that you would get in the meanwhile, you can travel within the Schengen area and of course in France. It's not advisable to leave the Schengen area. Personally, I only traveled once with my récépissé, but it was really tricky to do so I would not advise this to anyone, because when I wanted to come back to France, so when I was leaving India, I was at the immigration office and they asked me what this document means, because the immigration office in India does not know what récépissé is. They only know the Carte de Séjour and other residence permits. So I had to actually get another document from the prefecture in France saying that essentially what the document means. It was a really long process, so I would not recommend this. But if you really have an emergency and that you need to go, then you can ask for an additional document from your prefecture before you leave France. Can I switch from a student visa to a work visa? You can, because that's how students get their work visas afterwards, but you need to change your status. So a student who is on Carte de Séjour, and once the person graduates, they're eligible to apply for APS, which is essentially a job-seeking visa. And Dimensions France can also help you with these kinds of services, so you don't really have to worry about these things. So you're allowed to stay in France for up to 2 years, which is a valid residence permit, and you can look for jobs in the meantime. Once you find your job, you can then convert this visa to your work visa. Okay, so the French immigration process might seem a bit too complicated, but it's quite manageable once you understand these processes. And keep in mind that the most important things are to validate your visas on time, to have all of your documents ready, because remember that it's always better to be over-prepared than under-prepared. So every time that I would go to the prefecture, I would always go with a really big bunch of documents just in case that they ask anything. Apply early for your Carte de Séjour renewal. So after you have your Carte de Séjour for a year, you can then renew it. You can apply up to 3 months in advance before your Carte de Séjour expires. Okay, thank you so much for watching. I hope that this video was helpful for you. And if you found this video helpful, don't forget to subscribe to the channel, because they'll be providing a lot more information about the student life. And you can also leave your questions in the comments down below, and the Dimensions team will get back to you. And I'll see you in the next one. Bye.